what we are going to learn is all about the very basic concept of space planning. The first thing is the concept board, which is also called mood board. So mood of what? It is all about the mood of the space. So what else one should include in concept board or the mood board? Grouping of furniture, you will have to understand. Like if you talk about living room, so you have grouping of the furniture. You have 6-seater, 8-seater, 10-seater sofa.
Yes.
It may have 3-seater together, 2-seater together, 1-seater. You may have similar things like upholstered chair. You may have puffies.
Yes.
So these all actually come under one category, one cluster. So grouped or grouping of furniture is what you'll have to include in your mood board if you are doing the living room.
Okay.
Concept board also includes the color scheme, whether you want to take monochromatic color scheme, polychromatic color scheme, if you want to take complementary color scheme, triad, or maybe you may have your own signature style. So you have seen so many color schemes such as
Triads, tetrads, close to complementary, achromatic, neutral.
Yes, these are the color schemes. And signature color scheme means which you have created your own.
Okay.
Now texturing, so you have also texture. Those could be 2D texture and 3D texture on the wall.
Yes.
Or any surface. It could be surface of the furniture also, surface of the ceiling, surface of the floor. Obviously walls are there.
Yes.
So those textures are also included in the mood board or the concept board. Volume of the space. So volume of space means it's L into B into H, length, width, height factor. If you consider them one of the most important tool for the design, then you can consider that into concept board. When I am saying volume of space means how much empty or occupied space you want for the planning.
Okay.
Suppose you have a bedroom, if you want to occupy just 30%,
Okay.
so you can keep 70% empty. But generally what people do is that they occupy 60-70%, they leave empty space only 30%. So it is all about balancing the positive space occupied by the furniture and negative space which is not occupied, which can be used for movement, circulation. That can be used as clearance. So this is all about volume of space. So you'll have to decide volume of the space. Volume of space may also include the height of the ceiling. Suppose you want 10.5 feet, 11 feet, 12 feet, because you want ventilator too.
Okay.
You want the space should look big. For that you may have higher ceiling.
Okay.
So this also comes into volume of space. Generally L into B is limited. This is something we get very limited space because of the population hazard. The population, the way the population is increasing, space constraint is there. So L into B generally remains very, very constant. But height you can still factor. But nowadays that is also being limited in the big cities due to due to the limitations set by the municipal corporation of that city. And that is called what? FAR, floor area ratio. Okay, so this is again very, very important concept, volume of space. Now next is the movement. when I am saying movement, obviously people, those who are occupying that space,
Yes.
will move from one point to another point. Take example of residence. A person is in living room, will go to washroom,
Yes.
will go to kitchen
Will
to
go to-
cook, will go to dining room
We'll go to bedroom.
to eat,
Yes.
and mostly to have a luxury time we can go to either to the drawing room, living room, or media room, whatever you call it.
Yes.
Finally, for rest purpose, you go to your bedroom. So this is movement. So if you want to show movement pattern in very specified in a specific manner, that also you can include in your concept board or mood board. Generally, such technical aspect is not considered by normal interior designer or the decorator. To consider them, you need to be a really qualified person
Yes.
to think on the level of technicalities while even talking about the mood board.
Yes.
When you talk about mood board, people will simply talk about colors, texture, and maybe the style of the furniture, style of the floor, style of the ceiling, style of the paneling work, cladding work. That's it. They generally don't talk about movement or volume of space, etc. Now the next comes EOD and POD. You must be knowing because you have the idea of it.
Yes.
Elements of design and principles of design. You already know that elements of designs are point, line, shape, space, color, texture. These are all elements of design.
Design.
Now the principles of designs are like
Symmetry.
balance, rhythm. Yes, movement is also
Movement.
a part of that.
Scale and proportion.
Scale and proportion, or proportion and scale, what you will call it. And then you can also consider the focalization, enhancing or emphasizing just one spot in one big space. This is very important because if you're emphasizing
Yes.
2, 3 or 4 spots in a small space, so it will create confusion to the mind. If you create just one focal point, people will be interested to that spot. Other spot must be subdued or subjugated to the focal point.
Focal point.
Okay, so these all can be taken into concept board. Then comes, if you want to create your space serene, peaceful, so we'll have to consider the elements related to that.
Okay.
So we'll talk about that in detail later. Seamlessness. If you're having transparency,
Yes.
you're standing on one spot, and if you want to see the whole spot, whole space, whole area, it is generally in offices
Yes.
or any space which requires people to see complete space. It could be departmental store. So seamlessness at places required, and that too can be taken into the mood board. Neutral, exciting, exotic spaces, if you want to create, that too can be taken into mood board.
Okay.
Then comes theme. If you are doing thematic interiors, then you can also mention about that. You can have its sketches, photos, or you can have images made by the software you have yourself created. So that theme can also be considered taken into the mood board. These all actually collected in picture format in maybe one slide, 10 slides, doesn't matter, but it should be comprehensible in a sense that you cannot run into hundreds the mood board slides or the pages, so you'll have to keep it limited.
Yes.
Okay, now I show you. This is the concept board. Concept is nothing but it is all about idea
Okay.
or a plan, or you have a thought process in a mind that you want to create this space in such ways. So the concept board or the mood board is same thing,
Okay.
but some people call it as concept board, some people call it as mood board. So concept board means idea board. Obviously, to create something you must have some preconceived notion or idea with you. If you don't have that, how would you start your work? That's why first thing is to think about what style, what color, what texture, what feel of the space you want. Based on that, you select these items for the interiors.
Yes.
So whether it is lighting, curtain, the color of the wall, or upholstery, furniture, ceiling work, floor work, wallpaper or cladding or paneling or partition, these all elements can be included into mood board. See the next one. So you can see from the photos that what elements are being emphasized. For the floor, you can see this is the image taken. For the wall, this is the image. For the painting, this is the image.
Okay.
For tableware and all, these are the images. For furniture, it is showing which style you want.
Okay.
So from this small image, you get to know the mood of the space. So this is the first and primary requirement for a designer to compile.
Okay.
Likewise, you can have view of these elements. Depending on your choice and understanding of design, what elements you want to emphasize more. So based on that, you have the collection of the images. It doesn't matter somebody is simply talking upholstery only or furniture only,
Yes.
because their focus is furniture and the upholstery, but for you it could be ceiling, it could be flooring, it could be 2-3 elements together, and you don't want to emphasize more on to other things. But overall, you should include in your mood board the images which is actually capturing the mood of the space, the overall planning idea of this space. This will be all about mood board or concept board. Now next thing I'll talk about is the material board. From name it is quite obvious. Material which will be used for interior space is actually taken into this. A board is actually made to produce to the client that these are the materials I'm going to use. So material board may include furniture, flooring material, partition material, cladding material, false ceiling material. It may also include furnishings, right?
Yes.
So sample of finished material is generally compiled the whole space as per the chosen mood board, as per the chosen
Mood board.
concept board. So what else it will include? Let's understand that. So you can see this is the board for the material.
Okay.
So for decorating your interior surfaces, this could be the stone, this could be the fabric, this could be the again cladding material, this could be the laminate. So these all are collected here. Now style of presenting your material board depends on you. You should be generally writing its name, okay, little bit of material specification, because if it goes to technical person, should not only see the decorative surface of it but also merits of it,
The technicalities behind it.
the technicalities behind it. Yes, so these all may include in that. You may have anything you want, any important material which you are going to use in your interior space, that is to be taken into the board.
Okay.
So this is just the presentational way of putting your material board, but generally material board in real world is done in such a way that a piece of board is cut, maybe in ply or any other material, and the real material is pasted or fixed over that board, and name and the specification is written, and it is packed, sent to the client or the project manager of the client,
Okay.
the project manager who is managing the project. That could be for your own approval of the material, or to showcase your strength about understanding of the material. So as a designer, you do in a certain way. As a, if you talk in terms of contractor, if you are a contractor of specific thing, or maybe 2-3 things together you supply or design for your client, then you can have, suppose you are doing partition, fall ceiling, flooring, so we'll have material board for these things only.
Okay.
Suppose somebody is doing upholstery, so that person will collect all the materials of the upholstery, pasted on a board or maybe any convenient medium, and then send it to the project manager or the client, or at times your architect could be project manager also.
Okay.
On behalf of client, he is looking at the material aspect of the project.
Also.
Got that?
Yes.
So this is all the way to showcase the material board. Material board. This is how one can showcase.
Yes.
Let's come to the next point, which is about case study. This is very crucial to understand. Mostly students from management background, they are taught extensively about case study.
Yes.
So case studies they do of the different companies. Here in our field, we do the case study of the space planning, which is very, very crucial for us. Space is the biggest element for us. Space around us is so important that without space, we in the field is nothing. If we don't understand the space, means we don't understand anything. So understanding of space is all about your thinking 3-dimensionally.
Yes.
Objects in the space 3-dimensionally. If you can think that, means you are master of the design. Then comes the furniture, which is obviously the main supporting element for the people to rest, to sit, to work, you name it, all we do with the help of furniture.
Furniture.
So again, knowledge, understanding of furniture is second most crucial thing for a designer. Now comes other elements like partitioning, element, divider, fall ceiling, flooring, cladding. These all will have to include in our case study, because we are doing case study of space and elements related with the space,
Okay.
because we are not doing stuff related to business. So our topics must be concerned with space only, right? That so it may include location, where it is located. Is it climatically you can say in rainforest area.
Okay.
You can call it as subtropical region. This is our subtropical region, where we live. Location could be in terms of city, that which location it is in, prime location, secondary prime location. In terms of also it is on highway, national highway, or ring road, or outer ring road, or you name it. This is how you can even locate it. Now comes orientation in terms of sun direction.
Yes.
From sun rising to setting, the movement you can consider of the sun, actually sun doesn't move, but I'm saying you consider, generally we perceive that way. So it is east, south and west.
Okay.
So in our geographical location, orientation of sun is like this. So we'll have to consider and study about them in your case study. That amount of radiation or the heat or the direct sunlight you are getting in eastern direction, southern direction and western direction, we'll have to study its pattern.
Okay.
So you'll have to include that. Access to the site, how you are accessing the site, whether you need to drive in, you can walk in from the service road, etc. Size and area of the site. Size matters a lot. When we talk about space, means size. If you're having very small size, so do you understand meaning of small size? Suppose you are getting just 25 square yard space, or maybe 12.5 square yard space. So the smallest chunk of land could be 12.5 square yards. But where? In what terms? In places like Delhi or any metropolis cities in India,
Yes.
12.5 square yard space means
Small space.
jhuggi cluster.
Okay.
25 square yard means two plots together of a jhuggi cluster. So bigger jhuggi cluster. If you are coming to 50 square yard space, now you can start considering the space which is a respectable amount of space.
Space.
And beyond that you can keep on going. 100 square yard, 150 square yard, 200 square yard, 500 square yard. But somebody says 5000 square yard, means he's talking about the space which is kind of barren land, the space you don't have neighborhood.
Okay.
This is also a concept. People live in such areas also. So space is the most basic material for us.
Okay.
We cannot think of design if we are not given space. Just think 12.5 square yard area and somebody is having 5000 square yard area.
Yes.
So you can understand the scope of design.
Yes.
Space means scope of design. Bigger space,
More scope of design.
more scope of design. Smaller space,
Less scope of design.
yes. So you will have to also understand that. Now then you'll have to talk about the area allocation study. So where you live, you have a living room, you have bedrooms, you have washrooms, you have kitchen, you have terrace, you have different floors for different activity, you have gym area, you have meditation area, puja area. So you have different things around you.
Yes.
So you'll have to study the area allocation in the case study. Like for a living room, can we have the space size, say, for 50 feet by 30 feet? Such a big room can be possible for a human being to occupy?
No.
What do you think? What's the problem?
The person will feel like living in a big hall instead of living in a room of.
So there'll be kind of emptiness in the space.
Yes, obviously.
So right size space is required to design the space.
Yes.
I was emphasizing on size of the space I was just talking about. So the accurate size of the space matters a lot.
Okay.
You cannot have a bathroom again size 50 feet by 30 feet. It doesn't make sense.
Yes.
So whatever makes sense to be demarcated
Okay.
and then designed. So I was talking about area allocation. So you'll have to study very carefully, very carefully about the area allocation of any space in your case study. Elevation of site, how elevated it is from what?
Ground level.
No, from two things only. When we talk about elevation of the site, it means just two things.
Front.
One, no.
Okay.
Let me explain you first, then you try to relate it.
Okay.
First thing is elevation from your surrounding ground, from your neighborhood grounds. It could be houses around your house, different houses. There could be roads, there could be parks. No, there could be some commercial space around your space also. So these are all our neighborhood ground space. So from there, how elevated you have the site. This is local understanding of the elevation of the site. Second most important thing is the elevation of your site from sea level.
Okay.
From sea level 1500, 3000, 4500 feet. So this thing should also be considered. You'll have to consider why, because of this you could be falling in different climatic zone. Maybe in one zone you are on an elevated land, so you may have a different feel of rain, you may have different feel of heat wave, you may have different feel of winter. That's why this should also be included.
Okay.
Image of the client, whether the person to whom you are meeting for the consideration of design, what background, what image he is having. The person is as a professional or somebody who is doing the business in brick and mortar industry, or somebody who is just upstart, somebody of this age or that age, somebody who is very famous. So you'll have to consider the image of the client also. Then after the clearance, circulation, standards, benchmarks, space relationship, encapsulation, these also should be considered, about which we'll be talking in the next class.
Okay.
But just for the sake of understanding, let me tell you, benchmarking is like, suppose you're studying about something, you learnt about it, then obviously you would like to make something larger than that, bigger than that, better than that. So suppose we have seen somebody has used stone imported from Italy,
Okay.
which was having the rate of $200 a chunk means a whole piece. So if you are designing and looking at its grains and design pattern and the rate, you would say, no, I'll use something higher than that. So you will choose better grains, better look, and also obviously the price will be higher then. So this is called benchmarking, that this space which was already existing, I'm going to do better than that. You are benchmarking and then you are lifting it up. Then we'll talk about space sense, how generously you have used this space, how functional space you have made. It's intimate. It means how compact space you have created. So generally space could be of three types. Obviously, mostly we focus about functional space, which is very efficient. Intimate means you have very compact space, which is very challenging to design. Generous means you are having very various open spaces, to create interest, to create more luxury out of the space. So we'll have to talk about that also in case study. Then movement pattern in this space, whether it is linear, loop, axial, radial, free or complex. Like in any space we do the movement, so we may move into loop. It could be unidirectional, it could be multidirectional, it could be crisscross. So these all aspects are considered into our case study. So generally my experience is this, that when I talk about case study, try to make understand the students that what is called case study when you are talking in terms of space. So they are totally into null and void situation. Their mind is totally empty. They are not able to think what to talk about, how to talk about in your case study. Now you'll have to also understand how case study is written. So before going into any field, I'm telling you, though you are studying design, your literature side, your language side must be very, very, very strong. Then and only you opt for any course, any direction in life. Because if you don't understand that, so the example is before us. If I ask somebody make the case study of space, so they are 95% times the aspect of that case study, 95% of it is totally empty. They don't understand what to do. Maybe just 5%, 3% they are able to gather that these are the information, these are the headings, these are the points I can have in my case study. But to make case study stand out, what to do? Let's understand that now. So let's understand how to organize a case study. So these are the pointers you can look at. This is how you can organize. This is again another case study infographics. In totality, research, settling knowledge and criteria. These all are required. This is very good example.
Okay.
So based on this, you can do the case study. Overall, talk about the problems,
Okay.
then talk about solutions,
Then results.
and then talk about the results. Case study of space which is already there. These are the problems. Recently we visited one of the malls.
Yes.
What was the name?
DLF Promenade.
Yes. So we have seen so many problems there.
Yes.
You have seen the lighting work in the pillar.
Pillars. Yeah.
They did the cove lighting in pillars. So we were commenting about that it is visible.
Yes.
Even they had cove lighting in wall.
Yes.
The light itself was visible.
Yes.
So that was a bad design, right?
Yes.
So those were the problems, right?
Yes.
Now you'll have to identify those problems. You'll have to list in your case study. Then what else you will do? You will talk about the solution.
Solution. Yes.
So as we were talking about those cladding, etc., the light coves, likewise there could be hundreds of things you can talk about. You can give the solution. So the solution is like you'll have to suggest that instead of doing this design or this material or this styling, you can do that. Even we can talk about local demographics, right? That reaching to that particular mall is very difficult because you will have to take so many U-turns to reach there.
Yes.
Rather than it should be very straight, right? So you can talk about the solution that rather than having that U-loop reaching to the mall, you can have a straight over bridge or something like that. When it comes to interiors, we have seen that this space looked very compact. Then again, the solution could be the skylight.
Yes.
Because that will give the feel to the space. Natural light actually gives this space feel of spaciousness. So this, though we have the physical limitation, but light can give the solution. So likewise, you can talk about the solutions and finally results. So in the case study, the final results is all about that after studying, and generally case study is not done for just one case, it could be multiple cases, so that you conclude that out of all these best stuff I have studied, I'm concluding that these should be the results, these should be the way of handling this stuff.
Yes.
So this is how we talk about the case study. Now we will talk about the next thing, which is the organizational chart. So these were something related to the research work. Now we are formally started learning the very ABCD or the basics of space or space planning. Got that?
Yes.
So organizational chart, obviously in a homestead or in a setup of a house, a home, we don't have organizational chart, but again we have hierarchy. There's grandfather, father, children, then siblings. They have their own positions obviously in the family.
Yes.
So that is also kind of organizational chart, but that is very informal. Maybe a son could be the head of the family rather than the grandpa or the father.
Yes.
So that is a different case. When I am talking organizational chart, I am talking in terms of the
Design.
companies,
Okay.
organizations. So to design an office or even your residence, you need to have a chart. So what is that? Actually, that is a hierarchy chart of the organization, who works under whom.
Okay.
Got the point?
Yes.
Because you'll have to give the priority in your design, even allocation of the space based on who is who.
Yes.
Okay. You must have seen since your childhood the police force, police. So you must be knowing that different ranks are there. Can you name few?
Police force.
Yeah, in police force you have different ranks.
Yes. Like DCP, DIG, DM.
Okay, SP, SSP. Okay, ASI,
Yes.
sub inspector, havildar.
Yes.
So like that, this is what the hierarchy. Can you imagine an SSP or ASI cannot have same space allocation? So you can understand, based on the authority,
Yes.
we allocate the space. Okay.
Yes.
So hierarchy matters a lot in designing. Can you imagine somebody who is simply writing the report in a police station
Yes.
and somebody who is handling the whole police department of the city can have same sets of furniture?
No.
Why so?
Because the person who is handling the whole police department needs wider space, because he has more work of responsibility and he have to cater so many people. So he just cannot sit on a table or a chair with a chair. He needs an entire room, entire waiting area, reception, all these things to manage the
Okay,
work.
so it's like these are the secondary considerations actually.
Okay.
The primary consideration is this, that the aura of that position must be reflected. The authority must be reflected. The rank and file must be reflected.
Yes.
Because you are an authority, you will have to have people under you working for you. So they should stick to the instructions given by you. So those things are imposed on the people's mind through what? Space allocation,
Yes.
bigger space allocation,
Yes.
and obviously the things into it, the furniture, the ambience, the decor, the whole space sense. It should be in such a way that it is actually exudes what? The authority. It should actually reflect the authority.
Okay.
Likewise, I gave you just example of police station because generally from childhood days we generally know about the ranks of the police,
Yes.
you know, from our childhood. Likewise, in a company we have these things. An organizational chart is a diagram that displays a reporting or relationship hierarchy.
Yes.
Who works under whom. The most frequent application of an organizational chart is to show the structure of an organization and relative reporting. So actually, for the sake of running the company smoothly, and related to that is reporting pattern, who will report to whom. For that we need organizational hierarchy. For that we create organizational chart,
Yes.
and if it is provided to us, we can design better. Nothing could come to you handy in the first go other than organizational chart to proceed with your space design.
Okay.
To select even furniture, you need what? Hierarchy chart.
Right. Yes.
To decide your upholstery, to decide your curtain, to decide the floor, to decide space allocation, what do you need?
Hierarchy.
Hierarchy chart.
Yes.
That the person who is on top will have everything top notch,
Yes.
right?
All the resources, all these instruments.
Yes. So this is the organizational chart. You can see this organizational chart of architect's design operation. So there's director, PA, finance officer, business manager or planner, then operation manager. Now design manager is working under whom? Operation manager. Even project manager is working under
Design manager.
operation manager.
Operation manager.
But they are on an equivalent
Equivalent post.
obviously, yes.
Yes.
Now under design manager you have architects. Under architects you have assistant architects.
Okay.
Under design manager you have interior designer, assistant interior designer. Then under him only we have drafters or draftsmen.
Okay.
So you have a team of draftsmen.
Okay.
Now under them only there could be site staff, site engineer and site supervisors. So every company may run in different pattern. It's not a fixed way.
Okay.
I may have this structure, you may have a different structure. I may have 10 people working, you may have 20 people working, somebody is having 50 people working.
Yes.
So organizational chart will keep on having the variation into that. Got that?
Yes.
Now you may object that why did the drafter should work under the design manager? Why not project manager? If somebody in your company handling the project management and wanting to have the draftsman under him, so you can allocate. But generally this is the pattern.
Okay.
Mostly this is the pattern of the working. Now you can understand director must get 200 to 250 square feet area. Finance officer, you may allocate 150 square feet area, maybe even 100, depending on the space constraint. I'm not talking the 100% actual space allocation. It's just to show you, to make you understand that space allocation is higher to the higher positions. Likewise, an architect can have 80 square feet area. Assistant may have maybe 60 square feet area. Design people may have just 35 square feet area or 40 square feet area. Generally we start with 25 square feet area for a person. We may go up to even 450 square feet area to the highest position. So actually everything varies between 25 square feet area to 450 square feet area. But somebody who is mad about being in such a high position may demand 700 square feet area, but it doesn't make sense. When I'm saying 450 square feet area, it is for big multinational companies. Also matters the company of what size. Company is where it is positioned. Company is on stock exchange or not. Company is in having the operation in different countries or not.
Yes.
Company is operating locally. Company is into this segment or that segment. So segment also matters. So many criteria are there before talking about the organizational chart. Now this is the formal one. So it could be a college also, office also. It could be in any organization. When I'm saying organization, it doesn't mean only the office. It could be a research center. It could be an institute. It could be a university. It could be anything. Any organization may have a different structure, may have different positions to operationalize the whole organization. So if we have this is a key. I call it as a key. If you don't have a key, you can't open the lock of design. So your whole design is under lock. It is locked. The first key is to obtain what? The organizational chart. It is a key for you. You put key into the lock and then you open, and then things start. The whole space is before you. Now you are the master. You craft the way you want. Let's talk about now the requirement list. The next thing comes after the organizational chart is the requirement list. So obviously from these positions, now you know how many cabins are required for Mr. Dean, for Mr. that, for Mr. or Miss this. So you'll have the complete understanding that how many cabins of what sizes we require. If we require open space, if we require reception space, if we require waiting area, if we require cafeteria.
Yes.
Obviously some of the spaces are for all. Some are for specific people.
Yes.
So when you allocate cabins, it means you are giving to specific position. The space is going to be occupied by specific positions. Some spaces are for all. It is open for all.
Yes.
Right?
Like breakout zones.
Breakout zones.
Yes.
Meeting rooms.
Yes.
Right? So from this, as I told you, is a key. It is giving you the idea of listing the spaces. Now you can say this as the requirement list of the spaces. So list of the spaces required for particular organization based on what they are working on. This is taken there. The requirement list is a place where we can store and manage the requirements. It is also to gain an overview of requirements involved in the entire system. Let's understand it now. Now look at it. These are listed spaces. So these are the requirements. We derived it from organizational chart or anything like that.
Okay.
If it is a family, so a pattern is different, but it is similar thing.
Yes.
So based on that, we have derived what? The requirement list. This is second most important key. Actually, it is coming from what? From organizational chart or the whole hierarchical system, the hierarchy system. So like lobby, reception, medical spaces, counseling room, class, waiting room, bathroom, studio, kitchen, mechanical room. These are the requirement list. And then we talk about criteria matrix. This one, criteria matrix is what? In this also we'll have the adjacency matrix. So adjacency of spaces along with access, privacy, plumbing, view, daylight, etc. These all can be included in the criteria matrix and adjacency matrix. It includes a system in which something develops as per set criteria. Criteria, a principle or standard by which something may be judged or decided. Criteria matrix means to conquer the complexity of design with a logical, methodological approach. Now let's understand through this slide. So these are the criteria. Say in lobby, we don't need plumbing, so N. N means no. Privacy we require in lobby? No. Daylight we require in lobby? Yes. Adjacency we'll talk about next. First is the criteria. So what are the criteria? You can have your own sets of criteria. You can list a number of criteria based on which you can write yes, no, yes, no. Reception, do we need public access? Yes. In counseling room, do we need public access? No. In cafeteria, do we need plumbing? Yes, we need that. Privacy we need in the criteria? No. So these criteria you can have. Criteria generally we talk in terms of privacy. It could be in terms of services. Criteria could be in terms of decor. Criteria could be in terms of natural light. Criteria could be in terms of the authority based system, that who is what authority, so what security system is required to certain spots. So even security systems, CCTV cameras, etc., they all can be included into criteria matrix. Your firefighting system, water sprinkler, you name it. Most important aspect of space to which you consider very big criteria you can include in the list is just very small sample. To know further, obviously you need some guide, a mentor to talk in detail about these things. These are simply the abstract from our knowledge pool, and you will be learning while doing by software, right? So it was what? Criteria matrix. Now we'll talk about adjacency matrix. It's again very important. So we have lobby positioned here. So lobby must be adjacent to 3 number. So which is on 3 number?
Counseling
This is
room.
on 3 number. So in this image you can see this is the reception
Yes.
and there's waiting area over here,
Yes.
and these are the work areas. So the waiting area cannot be away from the reception.
Okay.
These spaces are integrated. It should be at one spot only, and that too near the entry of the whole space,
Whole
the
space.
whole office, right? Likewise, we can talk about different things. Now let's talk about adjacency. We were talking about adjacency. So director is numbered as 1. So having the serial number gives you a good idea, which was not there in the last slide.
Yes.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 likewise. So if you're saying 2, 3, 4, so director must be adjacent to 2 number, 3 number
And 4 number.
and 4 number. Let's talk the example of 9. So 9 must be near to 10 and 11,
Yes.
interior designers and draftsmen. Let's talk about reception. Reception must be near to 15 number, that is waiting area. Adjacent, it must be adjacent to each other or one another. Conference room must be adjacent to 5 number, that is business
Manager.
Now some of the things are set criteria, and some of the things you can consider yourself depending on your need, depending on the need of the organization. Now a question must be coming to your mind that adjacency can't be equal to each space,
Yes.
right? Some adjacency may be of second order, third order. To understand that, you'll have to have a chart like this, in which these symbols are talking about the importance of being 2 spaces together.
Yes.
So suppose you are taking star as the most adjacent, it should be very important or not important or less important. You can have different criteria. So suppose somebody is having with the coordinator 7, 9, 10, 11 number. If you want to say that the person who is here at 8 position, if I go this way, there's a dot. Now this is linked with the project manager. So with the project manager and coordinator, how strong relationship is there? Relationship in terms of working. So depending on that, we can have a symbol over here, and that symbol may be very important, less important, not important. I'll give you another example. Reception. Let's go across here at the end. Reception, look at it, we study like this, let's go to this spot. This spot is being also represented by director. So director with reception,
Yes.
generally very strong relation is not required, working relation, so not important. So this symbol star could be representation of not important. Likewise, you can fill 3 different types of symbols so that a person should look at it first and then look at it to decide the adjacency, because the moment you allocate the space, so what space should come with what space,
Yes.
what 2 spaces are having very strong working relation, what 2 other spaces are having very less working relation. So to base that thing in your planning, space planning, we need adjacency. Got that?
Yes.
So I hope you are clear with the concept of criteria matrix and adjacency matrix.
Yes.
Okay? So most vital thing, I start with the organizational chart, then we talk or learn about requirement list, which is coming from organizational chart itself. Based on requirement list, now we have a criteria matrix.
Yes.
And there also there's another thing integrated is the adjacency matrix. So these are the 4 important aspects before entering into the world of or wading through the world of space planning or organizing the space.
Yes.
So thank you very much for watching this video. This was very basic understanding of space planning.